Welcome to I Drink Your podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No,
you don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome to another bonus episode of I Drink Your Podcast. This one is very special. It's Harry Potter, y'all. And we're so excited to be here talking about it. Before we get too deep into the movie, please like, rate, subscribe, share us with a friend or two, and follow us on social media. But we do appreciate the support that everyone's given us, and we hope to continue to make many episodes after this. Yeah.
So eloquent.
Many memories.
Many memories. We have our core trio here today. I'm Ben, your resident Harry Potter. We've got Hermione. Wesley,
That's
you.
Wesley, right?
Let me live in this moment for a second where I don't know what character you're about to call me. Okay, lay it on me.
You're Hermione.
I thought Emily was Hermione.
No, we both said at the same time, Wesley.
I was so worried. Happening. You said Hermione. I thought for sure it was going to be Emily, and I blacked out. Like, I did not hear any words after that, and I was like, oh, what am I going to be?
No, Emily can't be Hermione when Emily's Dobby.
What?
Dead.
Dead to us.
Fuck off, guys. Wow.
Well, I didn't say you were Dobby.
Gave the dead part, I guess.
I was questioning Ben. Anyway.
Before we get started, what's in everyone's glass? Emily, what do you got today?
Inspired by our wonderful spellmaster, Harry Potter, I guess. Thank you, Ben. I have a color-changing drink. Ooh, so when I have this dark blue
Does it go from empty to full?
As it melts, it's supposed to change pink. Ooh.
Oh, okay. There's a demo going right now.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
Science.
Magic.
Wow.
I know, right? This is called chromatic kaleidoscopy, as Ben told me.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a couple of those operations.
Cheers.
Inspired by Harry Potter's greatest foe, I'm drinking an ice.
If you haven't seen this movie recently, you should watch this movie.
I literally just finished it, and I don't know what you're talking about. Where you get the sword?
Yeah, where he was drowning under the ice.
Oh, good joke. All right. Well, I'm drinking. I'm drinking what I also have called myself for this Zoom call. I'm drinking what I'm calling a Hooer Cucks.
Okay.
And how this works is it's just the drink. It's a soda, since I can't drink alcohol anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But since this is a Whore Cucks, every time I drink, I just want alcohol. So I'm going to make somebody else drink so that I can watch them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
good thing
Ben,
I'm not playing along.
Yeah. Every time I drink, you must also drink.
My sparkling ice?
Yes.
Okay. I can do that, yeah.
my shit don't work
vodka.
if you... Yeah. It's not my fault.
You're looking at it.
Get some vodka.
Shit. Wesley. Peer pressure, man. Peer pressure.
I think Ben's probably got it coming to him tenfold just for me alone. Let alone all of our other friends. I know we've said it before, but we've all been guilty of telling Ben, "Hey, I want to get drunk," and he does.
Okay. I've got my vodka.
He will follow through.
Ben, you don't need to drink all of that.
I have to. For Wesley.
For Wesley.
Cheers.
What is a cuck if nobody's there to,
I know. What am I?
Make him one.
It's like trying to be a voyeur on yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's just called a mirror.
Why do I hang out with you guys? I just don't know.
Because that joke was awesome.
Sure it was.
This week we watched the 7th Harry Potter movie. It's a part 1 of 2. It is currently at 77% on Rotten Tomatoes and made a lot of money, y'all. Made a lot of money.
Of course it made a lot of money.
Bills.
I saw it in theaters at midnight. Did you guys?
I saw it in theaters. I can't remember if it was midnight or not.
Wasn't I with you?
Probably.
I mean, chances
Did you guys dress up?
Maybe not. I dressed up. I was in Mankato.
Oh, maybe not then.
This movie was directed by David Yates, who also directed the 5th and 6th and 8th Harry Potters.
Yeah, Yates.
And starring in this movie are Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Ralph Fiennes. Basically, if they were in the other Harry Potters, they're in this one as well.
Plus some.
Plus some, who we're not going to call out.
It was really sad. Kelly was watching with me, and every time there was an actor that has passed away since it came out, Kelly would go, "That person's dead now." And I was like, oh. God. There's a lot of them.
I do that a lot. Is that not something normal people do?
Apparently.
That's like the Amazon Prime feature that they don't advertise, because you know how on Amazon Prime it tells you the actor's name, but also like
Deceased.
Your sister's just there to be like, they're dead.
It's like if Amazon Prime listed actors but crossed them out.
Amazon
God.
Subprime.
Just like Umbridge crossing out those dead people.
Topical.
Wesley does not remember this movie.
I remember Umbridge. What do you mean crossing out the names of those people? Might have been one of the parts I skipped.
Probably.
Well, straight from the back of the DVD cover, the plot synopsis for this movie is Harry, Ron, and Hermione set out on their perilous mission to track down and destroy the secret to Voldemort's immortality and destruction, the Horcrux.
Yeah.
On their own and on the run, the three friends must now rely on one another more than ever, but dark forces in their midst threaten to tear them apart. Meanwhile, the wizarding world has now become a dangerous place. The long-feared war has begun, and the Dark Lord has seized control of the Ministry of Magic and even Hogwarts, terrorizing
Jesus
and arresting
Christ, how long is
all
this?
who might oppose him. The Chosen One has become the Hunted One, as the Death Eaters search for Harry with orders to bring him to Voldemort.
If I wanted to read the book, I'd read the goddamn book.
You haven't read the book.
No, I know that. Emily and I talked about this today.
We did talk about this today.
She said that this was only like the second time, I believe, or she believes that.
Yeah, I
guess
think
we
this
both
is the
believe.
only second. I think this is the second time I've seen part 1. And I don't think I've seen part 2 more than once as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I gasped over a text and just said, like, how could you? You've let me down as a person and a human being. I thought you were such a big Harry Potter fan, and you've only seen the end twice. But then she assured me that she's read the books like 10 times.
Yeah, I've read each of them at least 10
and
times
so
or
much
more.
more time.
Not when you're in high school and middle school.
Okay, let's get back to the point on hand. You guys like 8 more than 7?
There's an 8?
I don't know because I haven't finished 8. I haven't seen it since the movies. I guess I haven't seen it since it was released. So, I don't know.
I will tell you exactly why. Because they're a good pair of movies. This is the perfect movie for the first half of a book. And
It's not.
by no fault of its own, it's not the better part of the book.
It's not the better part of the book. I do agree with that. This movie is better than the second movie.
That is an opinion, Ben. Is that your strong opinion?
That is actually part of my hot take. And my hot take and the hill I'm going to die on today is that the odd-numbered Harry Potter movies are better than any of the even-numbered Harry Potter movies.
I would agree with that statement.
Goblet of Fire is my only maybe stick in the mud there. And also, this is 7B. This is not 8. Or that would be 7B. This is 7A.
No, 7B is 8, in my mind.
Whatever technicalities, I understand what you mean, Ben. Generally, I would agree with you on that, but I don't know if I can reasonably agree with you since I haven't finished the last one yet.
2 is better than 1.
2 is not better than 1.
Whoa, okay, Wesley, stop. Stop
What
your...
Didn't you just say that? Evens?
No, odds are better than evens.
Oh.
1, 3, 5, and 7 are better than 2, 4, 6, 8. For those people like Wesley who don't know odds versus evens.
Well, bye.
When we did Harry Potter 5, I think we kind of talked about how 5 was a really, really good movie. Like, there was so much, it's the longest Harry Potter book, right? And they were able to adapt it in a way where it was fast paced. You still got a lot of the intensity and action, but you still got some tender moments between characters. It was a very good movie. When you look at something like Goblet of Fire, also a very, very long book, everything just felt way more jumbled. And yes, it had very explicit events that happen, right? Task 1, 2, 3. It shouldn't be that hard to follow, but there was just too much in how they put it together where it didn't have the energy flowing like it does for 1, 3, 5, for sure, I would say.
Yep. And in addition to that, it does something because it has to go plot point, plot point, plot point. It loses a sense of character in that fourth one. You don't have the moments of the trio being together or the other character things that are what make Harry Potter a thing that I enjoy. I like a lot of the characters. Yes, magic. Oh, that's a good word.
It's literally a tournament of magic. I think it's nice in the series. I think it's not the buddy cop drama where they have to solve something together only on their own. It's a big event, and it's something that kind of opens us up to the wizarding world as a whole a lot more than the previous ones. So it's our introduction to a lot of stuff.
That is true, and for that reason, I think 4 needed to be 2 movies also.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely agree.
And I think we were kind of robbed of the quality of that book because of trying to condense it into 1 movie.
I don't know.
More than the 7th book?
No, they both deserve to be split.
Okay. Well, we're not even going to touch that right now because I want to know, Ben, why is 7 really good?
7 is the calm before the storm. It's reintroducing you to the world and the characters that you've met from 6 movies. That this first movie feels like kind of just a murderer's row of we're going to roll out all the old characters and bring them back and show you just how expansive this world is that we built. But then we're also going to tie it into the real world and make it feel a little more grounded in that way than the magical locations of all the other movies. Like this one is the first one where it feels like the magic universe exists in our universe. And I really like that. The gorgeous landscape shots that they do, the way that they're constantly on the move between real locations. I really enjoy that aspect of this because it makes the ending hit harder because of that.
Of this movie?
The ending of the series hits harder because of this movie.
But see, here's the thing. The whole movie in itself, number 7, it only just has that slow build, and it is incredibly slow. They are just wandering and wandering and wandering aimlessly, which, yes, does happen in the book where they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what we should do. Maybe we should dance. And there are sweet moments, but they are so drawn out. Like, the stuff in between those moments it's so drawn out that I don't have the patience to sit there and watch us look at a character's face for like 20 long seconds while they're pondering something. And I kid you not, that happened many times.
I agree with Ben that I really appreciated kind of the reintroduction of all the characters and kind of heavy-handedly spelling it out. Like when Tonks walks in and goes, well, that's my husband. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. You guys are married. Thanks. So it does that. And I think it's kind of the same with my reason for liking Goblet of Fire so much is it's different from the rest of them. This isn't, the 1 year at Hogwarts and all this and blah, blah, blah. And then the only thing I kind of disagree with or maybe want to point out is that, Ben, a lot of your argument was how good it sets up the ending, and a lot of your compliments had to do with the movie that comes after it. which I think goes back to my point of like, this is a really good book. So like together, yeah, it's a great movie, but I think that the payoff, the sweet spot, the end, the release of the final movie is why it's better.
I disagree completely because, and I'm going to argue with Game of Thrones. The payoff of Game of Thrones is the episode where Dany kind of lays waste to King's Landing. I like all the episodes that lead up to that, but I don't like that episode. I like the setup.
I mean, yeah, Game of Thrones ending sucked, but that's
I'm just saying you can like the things that lead up to it and not like the end result. So just because I like this movie and the way it sets up the ending, that doesn't necessarily mean I like the ending.
I thought a couple of the points you were making sounded like you were giving the ending a lot of praise.
I do like the ending, but
So then what the fuck are you arguing?
then I like the setup more.
Yeah, I like the first 6 movies.
I could have 10 movies where they're just wandering around being the characters that I love.
Okay, that is a different argument. If they were just being kids, if they were out just doing their thing and doing magic the whole time, where it's not these like long spurts of time where they literally are floundering around and doing nothing, I'd be into that. But I feel like the way that the movie starts, and maybe it's because I have such a huge problem with just part 1, part 2 movies in general. I feel like there's just like this stupid cash grab, which it is. We all know it. I feel like right from the beginning, we get introduced to these plot points as little fun shoehorned cameos. Like, oh, hey, guess what? Remus and Tonks are married. Hey, guess what? Bill is being introduced with, oh, guess what? His fiance, who, voila, is from the 4th movie. Ah! All of these little tidbits of information, like Mundungus Fletcher getting thrown in there, even though he's been around since the 5th book, it just feels like, oh, we need to fit everyone in right now so
like a
that we
Simpsons
can
movie.
have all of this drama happen to tie up these loose ends. But they don't have any meaning whatsoever. And so when we finally get to the point where these 3 characters are together on their own, it just feels like this huge rush and then nothing.
I don't know how to respond to that.
That's fine.
I like the nothing because the nothing is realistic.
Either way, I did enjoy this movie. I definitely had apprehensions going into it because I distinctly remember, I think, Twilight being the series that introduced part 1, part 2 to the world.
I don't think that's right.
Oh, really?
I'm
What is
pretty
it
sure
then?
Twilight was. I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Oh, really?
Twilight didn't come out until after this.
Twilight Part 1, like Breaking Dawn Part 1, was 2011.
Either way, it's not my favorite thing, especially because it's usually like young adult shit that doesn't need to be broken down into any more pieces. And then on top of it, you know, then there was the Hobbit fiasco, which if you haven't, you should find the guy that re-edited it to be a 4-hour movie. It's fantastic. If I'm going to get a ton of details and things really spread out over time, and I'm going to get all the amazing nuances from the books, I want that from the beginning. If you're just going to like go through and mash everything together and then by the last 2 you spread everything out, it just feels disjointed to me.
I agree. I wish this had been just one 4-hour movie. I would have been okay with that if they had combined this or even a 3.5-hour movie like one of the Lord of the Rings movies. But that's not the way they went.
Show us the Yates cut.
We saw the Yates cut. I will say that this movie is definitely hurt by the fact that there is no falling action at all at the end. That it literally goes from the climax of Dobby dying to, okay, here's the end scene where Voldemort now has power. Every other Harry Potter movie has some falling action, and it's what makes a movie is to have that stuff after that kind of happens. So this movie is hurt by that, I agree. But I'm still going to die on this hill. I like all the slow stuff. I like the character moments. I don't mind spending 20 seconds looking at Harry Potter's face, trying to figure out what he's thinking and feeling in that moment.
Happens every time I close my eyes anyway. I want to maybe set the record straight. I don't dislike this movie at all.
I
It's
don't either.
definitely one of my favorite in the entire series. I simply think that I need the payoff. A full movie of payoff is pretty cool in my book.
And I'm always going to have critiques of Harry Potter movies because I was such a huge fan of the books. I mean, obviously we all grew up with Harry Potter, but as I was telling
Well, some of
Wesley,
us were
I have
pretty old
read. You grew up with Harry Potter. You're just old growing up with it.
Yes, yeah, yep.
Reading the books so many times growing up and going to the little Harry Potter book distribution parties that we had that was in the train station in Duluth. It was so fun. And then we talk about it in Harry Potter 5, our episode. It's just hard for me to watch these movies without a lot more criticism, unfortunately, because now I feel like I have opinions on movies. Thanks, guys.
Emily, as someone who read the books a lot, we've been talking about this Tonks point where she just kind of shows up and is like, that's my husband. I'm pretty sure that's how it happens in the book too, where it's not like this super drawn out thing or scene. Like it's literally just they show up and they're married.
It at least starts in book 6.
Where they have a romance or
where they have like this thing happening and they're always together, but she's crying about things and he's uncomfortable, but Harry doesn't realize what's going on because he has no emotions. Sorry, he has no emotional intelligence, you know?
No, he has emotional intelligence. It's just equal to that of a teaspoon.
Yeah, it's a good line from six movie, I think, right?
Sure. The one with the dance.
No, that's the 4th one.
4th one, whatever.
Yeah, see, I told you I like Goblet of Fire.
Does anyone else have a hot take? Because I've got another one if you guys don't.
I have quite a few hot takes. I'm sure this has already been written about in a fan fiction story somewhere online, but when Voldemort is getting the Elder Wand from Dumbledore and he's coming down very ominously towards Dumbledore and you see their faces, immediately I said, they're gonna fucking kiss. And Kelly turns to me and she's like, yeah, it's just like Snow White and like Sleeping Beauty and shit. And so I'm thinking there's this alternate universe where Voldemort's actually in love with Dumbledore and he kisses his true love.
He was way too young, though.
I mean, obviously we know that that's a problem. Like, we can get into a whole bunch of awkward conversations here of Dumbledore being his teacher. But generally,
Yes.
since Voldemort's supposedly 70 at this point, I feel like it doesn't matter anymore.
You mean like much later in life he fell in love with him?
Right. I mean, Dumbledore's like 100 and something. Voldemort's like 70. At this point, why not? They can be old loves together.
In the Fantastic Beasts movies, like Dumbledore is in love with
He's got a thing for dark wizards, so that's
yeah. See, it totally makes
accurate.
sense.
Yeah.
But that is literally what I was thinking as he's coming down to get closer to Dumbledore to take his wand. I'm like, those faces are getting real close to each other. We're gonna make out. We're gonna make out. It's gonna be just as awkward as Ginny and Harry.
Hold on, I got it. Voldemort actually loves Dumbledore, but Dumbledore is in love with Grindelwald, and that's why there's such a rivalry between Voldemort and
Grindelwald is in love with Voldemort.
And all 3 of them love Hagrid.
But Harry loves Hagrid.
Harry loves Dobby.
Okay, while we're on the idea of relationships, polyjuice potion in the bedroom. What do you guys think?
Let's just cut to the chase.
Like, that's role playing, right? Like, that's taking it to the next level.
Absolutely. There was a Reddit post recently on either Ask Reddit or Harry Potter talking about what kinds of uses of magic are used in the bedroom. And I think there was something about like role play with polyjuice potions.
Absolutely.
So smart man.
I thought of that when Ron changed back into himself while he was kissing the woman. I was like, okay.
They develop a polyjuice potion that goes away after you come.
Oh.
What is that called?
Spunk.
No, when you like after you orgasm and
Your
you
refractory
reflect on,
period.
yeah, you reflect on everything, your life choices.
I call that cum drunk.
Here's my next hot take. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Dobby's death is the best handled and most impactful in the movies.
I
think I would agree with that.
I agree with the reverence they gave him, but I think
Specifically
that
in the movies, yeah.
actual murder, yeah. I think, but I mean, that's a visual thing, so can't really fault a movie for that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, actually. I don't think that's too much of a hot take. I think that's usually what makes everyone cry the most. Usually online, everyone's like, oh my God, Dobby! Although, I'm going to point out, when I read the book, didn't cry when Dobby died.
Yeah.
I'm a heartless bitch, I guess.
What saves me is the setup of Hedwig early on, and knowing that it's the finale, and having read the books, obviously, but, you know, you can guess that there are probably going to be some deaths, and they kind of set that up with Hedwig, and I was like, yeah, there's things are going to die in this one, and then the next one, it's just like, all right, who's going to live?
Yeah, I actually have a huge problem because Hedwig was the big one for me when I was reading the books. That was like where I broke down sobbing. That was a big moment for me. And it honestly felt like the innocence of Harry being destroyed. Not that he hadn't like had to go through a ton of trauma to get there. But I will say I do have a qualm with the movie of not letting Harry yell out Hedwig's name. I felt like she deserved a little bit more respect than just going, no.
I kind of liked it though, because I mean, like, they're in the middle of a dogfight, essentially, you know, and trying to be undercover, and Hedwig sacrificed, so be a disservice to give yourself away at that point, even though they say that Hedwig probably is the one that gave him away. Traitor. So maybe it was a good thing he died.
Hedwig is a Death Eater. He was the whole time.
She has the
tattoo
on her claw.
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
It just turns the claw
Hedwig's
around.
a Death Eater is the hottest take we have. Yeah.
Yep.
A death that didn't get the service it deserved is Wormtails. I hate what they did in this movie to him.
He dies in this movie?
I don't even remember him dying.
This is the last we see of him. Dobby shoots the spell down the stairs and he dies.
And then
we
he
never
says,
see him again.
Who gets his wand?
And then Harry or Ron grabs his wand, yeah.
No, but Dobby at the top of the stairs has a hilarious line of, who gets his wand?
Yep.
And that is them referencing Wormtail being dead?
That's where Wormtail dies, because in the book, it's during that part that the hand that was created for him chokes
him out. Yeah. Huh.
So Dobby's a murderer, so we can feel less bad about
Dobby's
his death.
a murderer for the longest time.
Whoa! Who's he
killed? You see what he did to that cake?
You're right.
You know, I don't actually care all that much about Dobby. I think he's exactly what I expected throughout all of the books. He never really changes. He's just who he is, which is great. You know, I'm glad that he has that character. But I will say, I love Creature's character arc. And I don't remember if he comes back in the second one, or I guess part 2. But I really, really like him in the books. I wish they would have done just a little bit more with him.
I think all of the elves, because I agree, I think Dobby kind of has a stable enough line to follow through the movies. But in the books, he introduces, like, he's the gateway to a whole other storyline that we don't get in the movies. And I think that kind of involves Creature too, because you just get way more of that sense of who house elves are and their kind of culture.
Let's get into the good, bad, and weird of this movie. And start with who won. Who won this movie for y'all?
Pick me.
M.
The adults acting like the kids. Boom.
Yes. Killed it.
It is the fucking best part of the entire movie in this one and the second one. I started watching it with Bellatrix acting like Emma Watson as Hermione is so fucking good. But all three of those actors...
Have I got a movie for you? It's called Jumanji. Enter the Jungle.
Well,
yeah, but see, here's the thing, Wesley. we have seen these characters grow up for 6 movies now. We know them. We know them so well. We have seen them change and learn to be actors. And now we have these 3 adults completely mimicking their mannerisms as their character and watching. I don't remember Harry's alter ego, I guess, name. Was it like Albert or something? He was so fucking. They're all good, but just the way they move, the different jokes that land. I fucking love it. I love the way that they walk. I love their facial expressions. I love how they aren't supposed to be interacting with each other. Like everyone looks at them funny because these are 3 adults that have completely different lines of work, you know? Just fucking love it. Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that because the acting in this movie, this is the best acted of all of the Harry Potter movies, in my opinion. This is the first one where all 3 of the main kids are firing on all cylinders and have learned how to act. Because Ron is really rough at the beginning. Hermione kind of forgets how to act in the middle movies. And then she finally comes back. And some of the scenes in this movie, like the scene in the tent where they're arguing with each other, it's just very well done. They're able to carry this movie as children and make it so that we can accept the slowness. At least I can accept it.
And piggybacking on you, just all of the acting in it just really stood out. I'm thinking Bill Nye was fucking fantastic with just that tiny little scene in the beginning where he's divvying out everything from Dumbledore's will. Obviously, Luna Lovegood is always going to be one of my favorites. And I know that she has an incredible story of how she really pushed to get this role. Like this was her dream role. She is perfect for it. When she's talking to her dad about Harry doesn't want to talk to us right now. He's too polite to say so. It's like just her delivery on that is so fucking delightful. She never loses it. She's always Luna. Love it. Love it so much.
The scene where all of the Harrys are still trying to be the other characters. Like,
way
that's
to go,
great,
Daniel
great
Radcliffe.
acting by Daniel Radcliffe. Yep.
That's kind of what doesn't surprise me with some of the shit he does now.
Yeah. Swiss Army Man is basically just that scene.
But when you see that scene, you go, oh yeah, this is kind of where it opened the door for him for all his possibilities.
Yeah. Wesley, do you have a winner?
Oh, yeah, Domhnall Gleeson, for sure. Slipping into another franchise right at the end, getting to make out with Fleur Delacour. Woo!
Getting to announce that his dad died?
Boy's winning it. Domhnall.
Wait, what?
Emily, Mad Eye Moody is his dad in real life.
Oh, shit. Sorry, it took me a minute to... Oh my god, that's crazy.
Bill Weasley.
Oh, no, I know. I figured it out.
I was saying it for the rest of the... Emily, we do this for other people.
Do we, though? I don't know of how many people are actually listening.
Well, we intend it to be for other people.
Our, 3 listeners. Hi, Connor. Hi, Nick.
Stop.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Dylan's mom.
Sorry, we have 4.
We love you all, by the way.
We really do.
Other good in this movie, because, Emily, you talked about your favorite scene. I have a favorite scene.
Okay.
And it's the animation.
Oh, that was what I was just about to say.
That's the most surprised I've been in a Harry Potter movie because I wasn't expecting the style to change so drastically when I first saw it. And the animation is pitch perfect. There's this part in the animation where the second brother is hanging there, and then it transitions to Death pulling him up on the string like a puppet and snagging him. I fucking love that part so much.
The whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, yeah, I definitely want to talk about this whole scene because the animation and then that exact part happened and I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, it reminds me of the Marauders map. I think it's just color tone, but it's also one of the only things that is really animated that isn't a creature.
But yeah, the brown and the black. Absolutely.
It has this eerie, beautiful quality to it that is definitely reminiscent of a Nightmare Before Christmas feel, yet it also is so unique in how it's portrayed, where, as you said, Ben, every moment is so fluid into the next. It transitions so seamlessly, and the story itself is incredibly gruesome, but that is kind of what children's folktales kind of are in general. And so seeing that put to life in a way that isn't like flashback, isn't like having someone do a voiceover, a normal voiceover. I don't know. This animation, as you said, is incredibly surprising and it is so unique for this film. It brought such a magical beauty to it.
Yeah, and I think, well, with what you both just said, since Ben said it first, but it flows together so well. And I realize that's what it is about this and the Marauders map, or they're both ink. I mean, it's moving ink on a parchment style background. And so like it really does feel like a handwritten story that you are being read aloud as you kind of experience it listening to Mr. Lovegood slash Targaryen.
I also want to just call out another scene because I didn't really think about this scene in depth until I had seen this again. The torture scene with Hermione and Bellatrix Lestrange was a lot more powerful to me this time around, and I'm not really sure why, but Emma Watson screaming and reacting and crying as she's just laying there watching things unfold and just kind of in shock, it had a lot more power over me than I think it did in the past. And that's actually kind of a moment that really hit hard.
Yeah, I don't know what it was necessarily. It didn't emotionally affect me, I think, as much as it did for you. But I did like make note in my mind, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. But I remember at one point thinking, like, I don't remember this screaming going on this long, and it sounding like that much pain and torture, and I just didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, when was the last time you guys ever screamed? You were probably a child, right?
No, it was recently.
All right, well,
I scream
not
a
that
lot.
long ago.
never mind. I just distinctly remember there was a play that I auditioned for when I was in high school, and I remember my director asking us to each scream because that's something that one of the characters did literally like 50 times in a play. And on the spot, trying to scream, fucking hard. Like I don't think I could do that.
I do think that Emma Watson really raises her game acting when she's in scenes with Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh,
because
fuck
I have
yes.
read that she like idolizes her as an actress, and you can kind of tell like in Order of the Phoenix when she's like being held by her, and you can tell like Helena Bonham Carter is like really like pulling at her hair. Like they just play off each other so well, and it's a respect thing that leads to that. Last thing I want to call out is the editing in this movie. The way that they intersperse the visions with Voldemort, like in between transitions between scenes to lead us back to Harry. It's just really effective. Maybe it might be screenwriting too, just the way that the story is built to allow those scenes to exist in between other scenes. But this movie is very well edited, and kudos to that group and crew.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I don't want to credit the screenwriters because J.K. Rowling was one of the screenwriters, but fine.
She didn't do that part.
She didn't write the whole fucking book.
No.
Let's talk about the shitty parts of this movie.
If you have some, I guess go ahead.
Snatchers.
You didn't like the Snatchers?
Nope.
Why?
Oh, okay.
You know, they just seem kind of unimportant. They seem like a plot device. Like, I don't really give a shit. The only reason they were there was to capture and bring them in. Like, I didn't have a problem with
the
them.
Snatchers' only reason of existing was to snatch?
What do you want? I should snatch them up?
Wesley, I think that in this movie, because it spent so much time on really mundane parts, they didn't really capture the fear of these people going missing. And the radio, yes, they're listing these names, but we don't recognize any of the names that they say. If they had thrown out there anyone besides Dean Thomas, if they had brought in, or like Ron commenting of, oh, that was the person that like hired my dad, or some sort of connection.
That was the person that married Lupin. And that's how they tell us that Tonks
It
got
turns out
married.
it's just Tonks. It's just Tonks behind them all.
Either way, I feel like the Snatchers are way more feared in the books.
Mhm.
And the whole scene where the guy who I think they imply to be a werewolf, I thought he was a werewolf in the books, but he smells Hermione's perfume. I'm sitting there like, okay, yes, it's scary, but you probably didn't need to have like that long of a scene. But whatever, it's fine. Could have found better ways to make them more feared.
Yeah, I think they had a lot of things like that though, like when it's just the three of them jumping to locations and then they get rid of Ron and then they're jumping around him more. Like there's a lot in the book that sells that whole like the feeling of that isolation and only being able to kind of get tiny glimpses into what's even happening.
Right.
So I think that there's just things like that where they probably had to choose, unfortunately, even though it's two movies. They still end up cutting some of that kind of meat, the juicy fat.
And it's the cutting of things that leads to my bad, which is you have a 2.5-hour movie that's just the first half of the book. You can have the scene where the Dursleys say goodbye to Harry.
I know.
Come on.
That was so frustrating. That was so frustrating.
I blinked and it was over.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were just gone. And the house is empty. We never got that resolution, and it's so powerful in the book. And it's like, why wouldn't you have something like that? And that was kind of my biggest complaint, was the beginning of the movie. I felt like, yes, you have the teacher of the Muggle studies getting tortured and then killed. You have like this big long conversations with the Death Eaters. You have the Minister of Magic, Rufus Scrimmager, I can't remember his name, and he gets murdered later, but it was incredibly slow. Obviously, I didn't like a lot of like the big spaces where, like, literally in the scene where Voldemort's talking to all of his Death Eaters, there are multiple parts where they're just like staring at random objects or people and just not moving the camera or not doing anything with it. It just felt empty to me. It didn't even feel scary.
How are we friends?
I don't
feel
know.
like that's kind of how I exist as a person.
The beginning of the movie, I had a really hard time with it, especially because I didn't feel any of those emotions from Harry right away. Like, he looks at his closet under the stairs.
I mean, he didn't have a ton to be thankful for.
That one little British army man is all he had.
Yeah, like that's...
He was just connecting with the one thing he loved.
And I can understand, I don't forgive them for not having that scene, but in the way that they presented it, by having Hermione and Harry, separating themselves in that really kind of like dark, somber beginning. It's a very, hey, we're kind of serious here, so we're setting the tone. If they'd have had that resolution right away at the beginning of the movie, it either would have made the rest of the movie feel weird, or that scene wouldn't have come across as powerful or as meaningful. I agree with you, but I can understand why they wouldn't put it in there.
My other bad has to do with the book, because I think it's the same thing in the book, but the locket basically just being the ring of power. Like, stay in your fucking lane, Miss Rowling. Like, Hermione almost yelled "share the load," and I was like, oh, that's the scene we're doing, I guess.
You know what?
Run,
I
you
was
fools.
half expecting to see marks in their neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very confused of why I didn't see that. And I went, oh, wait, wrong movie. But I also think that in the book, at least they did a better job of showing Hermione, Ron, and Harry each having a really hard time with it. I feel like in this movie, they make Hermione just like the savior of everyone.
Well, she just doesn't think it's too hard. She's like, whatever. The secret is, I'm always angry.
We know that Ron is extremely emotional, just generally. That's just how his character has been throughout all of these books and movies. And so, of course, he's going to snap eventually if he's wearing this locket all day. But there are times where Hermione is just sobbing and can't get over things. And in the book, and it's heartbreaking to see each of them have like these mental health episodes. And I just was really frustrated that's what I wanted them to spend more time on.
Mm.
You know, like these moments of trying to encourage each other to the next step. Or it just felt so empty to me, Ben, if that makes sense.
I can understand that. I don't agree, but I can understand.
Mm-hmm. I have one last bad thing. The sound design of the locket, speaking of the locket, is the fucking worst. I haven't seen Dunkirk, but I've heard that Dunkirk also has like a low sound that goes throughout the whole movie. But this one, where it starts in the beginning, it just made me want to turn the movie off. I don't know if it was the actual pitch. I feel like it's just the loudness of it. It's not annoying to be like a mosquito lightly buzzing around your ear. It's like nope, this is going to be in your face. Awful sounding. And I get what they're doing, but I hated it and I wanted to punch the movie.
Let's get into the weird. Wesley, what was your weird?
It's not really that weird. I like it a lot, but don't you find it interesting that they don't say spells anymore?
Yes, I do.
And like I know that they can, and I actually do like that they don't say spells anymore because that's what they would be doing. I would assume that it's pretty ridiculous to always have to be saying the thing you're going to do out loud and announce it before you do it.
Yeah.
So I like that, but it kind of just comes out of nowhere.
Well, and the part that made it really weird then is the part in the cafe where they're throwing spells back and forth, and then the one spell that hits is the one that Hermione announces what it is. And that's where I was like, wait, why would you announce that? Like, and I know why the movie did it. It was to show that Hermione didn't kill somebody because they didn't want people thinking Hermione was a killer.
Yeah.
But
like
that was weird.
I know the logical reason to have that in the movie is so you know what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Emily, did you have a weird?
Well, mine also is related to the book because this scene has never, ever made sense to me. Bathilda Bagshot is actually Nagini the Snake in her skin.
But acts like a person.
I know that this is a fucking magical fucking world, but this scene has never in a million years made sense to me. And I don't know if I will ever get over the fact that it just disturbs the shit out of me and does not make sense. Like, I've read these books so many times that I feel like I have somewhat of a logical explanation for every single magical thing that happens. This one, fuck me. I don't know.
Muppet Man? Muppet Man. Also, did the casting call just say, give me the creepiest old woman possible?
She actually lives in that house. It was part of the deal.
That's right. I've got a string of weird that I'm just going to throw out.
Oh,
do it, because I got some too.
You ready for my string of weird, Wesley?
Yeah. Do you have a weird already sounds inappropriate? Let me pull out my string of weird. Just sounds like it sounds like you have to announce yourself when you move into a new neighborhood.
Okay, so here's my first one. Hermione obliviates her parents' minds and her from their memory. And then the pictures disappear. And now there are pictures where there are things framed and there's no people in them. So it's just like a picture of a bed. Like, what do the parents think when they look at that picture of a bed that they have framed?
Maybe they're interior designers.
Oh, I thought they were dentists.
They are.
You read the book, yeah.
But they're not just blank pictures now. They're magically obfuscated from their view. So it's just like when people would walk into the Quidditch grounds, they just, oh, I forgot I have to be somewhere else.
So they don't see the frame?
They might, but they don't comprehend it, and then the magic tells them to think about something else. So that they just kind of exist around it, and they don't, like, they can see it. It's not like it's invisible, but they don't.
Wesley makes up his own rules.
Is that J.K. Rowling there? Making up shit after the fact?
I felt like that was pretty based on book.
Okay, J.K., well, how about this one? Why would you still have the same voice after taking polyjuice potion? If everything changes, including your eyesight, why would your vocal cords not change?
Magic. Movie magic.
You know what? I don't remember what they did in the second movie.
They had the same voices. They, like, Harry, while he was Crabbe or Goyle, had Harry's voice, and he had to, like, do an accent.
It's obviously because it's a movie, and There's audio, and
I
you
don't
have to know
accept
who's
this.
who.
It's a movie explanation.
I said magic first.
Okay, I'll accept magic.
I'm going to agree with Wesley on this part, and it's mostly because this book and this book series is for children. And children really need to recognize those voices because they're not going to remember that the girl is Hermione and that the dark-haired guy is Harry, obviously, and the reddish hair guy is Ron. Like, obviously, they're not going to remember that.
I'm going to remember this moment, Emily, because when we start doing Star Wars movies, I'm going to dismiss every one of your criticisms with it's a movie for children.
Well, it is.
And just move on.
Star Wars is about magical space wizards. We all know this. Thank you, Patrick Willems. Like, that's what it is. You just have to accept it.
Do you accept it?
I don't.
Here's my string of weird if you're done.
Oh, I got one more. There's a spell to just create a wreath out of nothing.
That was weird to you?
Yeah, like, I get that Hermione's like a powerful wizard. She can just turn nothing into things.
She probably turned the snow into plants. Transfiguration? I don't know.
Transfiguration is the correct answer. Smart ass answer.
Magic.
I had a ton of just weird shit. Most of it revolves around just relationships with people, like romantic relationships. Ron and Harry have this brotherly relationship that I feel like is not shown as well as like the sister and brother relationship between Harry and Hermione, and that bothered me. Ginny and Harry snogging.
Movie's not called Ron Weasley.
So uncomfortable. Not okay to me. Hermione kisses Harry on the cheek when she sees him. I know that's a very common thing, but literally no one else does it to anyone throughout the movie. So I feel like that was just overly familiar to set up the next weird thing, which is Harry and Hermione naked making out, because it only made me think about what those two were doing growing up together. And now, hey, guess what? We're going to be half naked and kissing each other for a while. This is awkward.
I think the movie was trying to capture what the books had at that time, where even up till the 7th book, there was argument among the fandom of who Hermione really liked, whether it was Harry or Ron. And I think this movie was trying to create that sort of love triangle tension by having those things in it.
I hated it. I thought it was so obnoxious because I guess I knew by the end of it.
As a reader, yeah.
As a reader, reading throughout the 6th book, I knew what was going to happen by the time we got there. So, another weird. Hermione is in the graveyard and she's wandering around and happens to uncover one grave with snow on it and sees the Deathly Hallows symbol. What the fuck? Like, come on.
I assumed that she was just wiping off a bunch of them and that was the one that they chose to show. But yes, I agree. I had the same thought.
I mean, and I would probably do that as a person. I would probably just brush snow off of things because that's what I do.
Let's wrap this up and give our final thoughts on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. And we'll start with Wesley.
Really putting me on the spot here. I don't really know what to say. It's good. I would like more things and less of others.
More and less, please. Emily?
I generally like it. I think that it's partially due to sentimentality and nostalgia. But as a film, it's pretty decent. I feel like it could have been tightened up in a lot of areas. There was a lot of just cumbersome, slow shots that didn't need to be there. Yes, there were some establishing landscape shots that were beautiful. But generally, I just liked the acting in it. And I loved the characters in the world. But other than that, it was okay. Not my favorite, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to rate a movie like this when I have so much sentimentality for the series, because it's not something I can compare to other movies. It's not my film criticism has a gap like that where I can't see this outside of the Harry Potter franchise. This is my 4th favorite Harry Potter movie. So take that for what it is.
Right in the middle.
It's right in the middle. The other ones that are above it are odd. The other ones below it are even. And Goblet of Fire is my least favorite of all of them.
That can't be true.
It absolutely is true.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our bonus episode. We had a great time, even though we sometimes sound like we're not having fun together. We do love each other. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at IDYP_podcast, or you can shoot us an email at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.